So as part of senior front-end developer interview questions for a product-based company, this video is about the other question that was asked in the interview. So I have already shared the first question that they have asked in my previous video. If you have not checked, please go and watch the previous video. So now I am going to go ahead with the second question. So the question that they have asked is like, there is a button component, okay, so I need to test whether on-click event handler is called. Okay, so this question directly asking me to test my whatever the testing tools I have used and also whatever the testing knowledge I have. So generally, the people who have read React or JavaScript through Udemy courses or YouTube courses, they might be able to answer JavaScript or React questions easily. But answering the questions of something around JavaScript ecosystem like Webpack or testing or state management, so it might be a little difficult for them because they might not be using these tools in the actual environment. So this question is actually a very good question. So let me jump into what I have answered. So basically I have been using RTL plus Jest in my entire React experience. So I went ahead and answered with the RTL plus Jest way. So before proceeding into the answers, so I would like to just rub around a little bit whatever the testing tools that we have in the React ecosystem and why we are using RTL plus Jest. So generally, Jest is a actual test runner, and RTL provides a way to access the virtual DOM. Okay, because RTL is a React testing library, is developed by the same team which developed React, okay, and it is most popularly used testing library RTL, and it is mixed with Jest. Why we need to actually mix with Jest? Because RTL is not a test running library, so Jest finds the files with text extension and also from the test folder, and it runs and it uses the coverages and reports and all. With RTL, it gives us way to access the virtual DOM created by the React. Okay, so instead of RTL, even we can use something like Engine tools as well. Like they are like Engine is also a popular tool. It is also being used, but this RTL is a little bit more popular. Okay, so and also this question is particularly checking about the behavioral testing. So before jumping on to what is behavioral testing, I would like to explain about different types of testings that we do in the front end. Okay, there are like around roughly 4 types of testings we have in the front end. Okay, so one is, first one, the most common one that we do is unit testing. So unit testing that we do for a small chunk of code, like a simple component. If you want to check anything, how that particular component is working, whether the component is properly returning or not, for different edge cases. So for that purpose we use unit testing. And the second one is integration testing. So integration testing is for a large chunk of data. Something like, it also covers many components, and also it might go for API testing. So and also these all things falls under integration testing. Okay, and then the other way is function testing or behavioral testing. So this question falls under function testing or behavioral testing because it is expecting us, okay, to actually test an on-click, okay, to test how user behaves. Okay, so and also there is another type of testing which is end-to-end testing. End-to-end testing generally we do with something like Cypress or Selenium. Selenium is differently altogether different tool, but Cypress is something that we can do. It's a local npm module, so we can This is one of the most popular end-to-end testing tool. Okay, so this end-to-end testing we do directly. Website will be opened in a browser, and all the whatever the test cases that we give, it can be run into end-to-end testing. Okay, so currently our question is into functional testing or behavioral testing. Okay, so let's jump into the solution. Okay, so so first let me get into this one. Okay, so here what we are going to test. So initially the first parameter will be like simple description, and then we have a callback. Okay, so here this is the test. So we have just created a test case. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to access button component. How we are going to access button component? RTL gives us the ability to access the virtual DOM, okay, of the button. So for that, from RTL point of view, we have something like a render function. Okay, so here I am going to render my button component. Okay, I just gave it a self-closing one. So now for this button function, what we need to do, we need to execute the onClick event. So here I am going to use onClick, and I am going to provide a handler. This is an onClick handler. So where is this onClick handler? Let's say this onClick handler might be inside the button component. Okay, we can actually probably we can export that function and can access this button one here, but that's not the ideal purpose of testing. So inside the tests, we can actually do the API calls, and whatever the other components or other front-end code is doing, tests also can do that, but that's not how tests should run. So tests should be able to run in airplane mode, something like we need to mock whatever the data and whatever the functions. Okay, so that way we can run this test in some kind of a airplane mode and without any sort of dependencies. Okay, so for that purpose we are going to mock this click handler. So how we are going to mock this click handler? So Jest is providing us some functionality, something like that. So this click handler I am going to mock it something like jest.fn. So jest.fn gives us the ability to create the mock the function of the click handler. Okay, so now we have rendered. Okay, we have rendered entire button component. So how we are going to select? So we are going to select it in some very same way how we are going to select any sort of DOM element from a document. So how we generally do that selection? We can select by ID or name or class, something like that, right? So similarly, RTL gives us simple functions like get by text. Okay, we have get by text, or we have query all. We have like find by. So there are like multiple queries, like multiple choices of queries that RTL provides to select elements from the rendered component. Okay, so generally this rendered component will have a huge object. That object data will be distinguished by each get by text, find by all, something like that. So I am going to actually destructure get by text data from this rendered component. Why I am doing this? Because this get by text will contain all the texts of elements of this button component. Okay, so we have this get by text. So get by text accepts a parameter, okay, of name, name of that particular button. So for that we are going to give, let's say our button name is submit. Okay, if we are going to call something like get by text of name, okay, so this is going to select our submit button and return that element. Okay, we got that button. So what's the next step? Next step is we need to click, right? So how we are going to click it? So RTL gives us, okay, another. So there are different fire events we have, but RTL gives us the fire event click. Okay, So now I have the element. Okay, I'm going to do that click on this element. Okay, so now I have clicked. So what's my next step? I need to test it. I need to test whether my click event handler is called or not. So what's my on click event? It's click handler. So now what I'm going to do? So for this we need to check. So this is the simple just based syntax, like expect. Okay, expect click handler, this function expect to have been called. Okay, right. So here expect click handler to have been called. So this way we are actually checking whether click handler is being called or not. So these are kind of 1 2 3 4 5 like 5 to 6 lines of code. This looks pretty easy, but we need to have that testing thought process in our mind so that we can actually write some code and show. So the interviewer asked me to actually write the code. It's like instead of writing a pseudocode or something, he wanted to test me that exact coding skills of mine in RTL plus Jest. Okay, so I think this will help us